Why I have been showing you this is a very common thing. Now we have a little about the rather I do not know if it's a raspberry board. You have seen this here. So we see all sorts of things. We see 0.1 inch pin headers. 0.1 inch refers to the pitch to 0.54 millimeters, and double row 0.1 inch header. You understood? This one is a socket, this one is a plug type, which I have shown you. And then something here we also see which is not very satisfactory, that is a powering in terminals. If you remember, in the beginning we talk about cost. Often this cost seems to dictate how bad things can be. If my colleague can kindly give me this. You see here, I am not very clear. Probably yes, it may be an audio or it may be something. If you spend more money, you get a proper connector. If you do not spend enough money, you end up with something often which fails. As if this is not sufficient, most of the the original sockets have been made such that there is a built-in battery or a battery backup inside. If you provide external power, that is the circuit is interrupted and then is powered from outside. If you remove it, the internal battery works. So a built-in switch contact also is maintained. So it leads a little bit of a problem. Fantastic here. They are getting into a very organic thing about mating cycles and all that. No, maybe they will build houses eventually or go into a nesting season. Sorry for the small problem, but what you will notice here is that connectors have a finite life. Connecting, disconnecting them is what wears them out. Data sheets usually present that information in terms of mating cycles. So USB connector may have a lifetime in the thousands or tens of thousands of cycles, where a board to board connector designed for use inside electronics may be limited to tens of cycles. You see one very interesting thing here. You see, this is having flat surface mount contacts. I do not know the designation, and once it sits on the top of a what you call printed circuit board, something from the top gets inserted here. On the top something is inserted here, and now I think you should read it for it about the connector data sheet and so on. Just read it. "50 insertion cycles." Won't it go out in the manufacture itself? No. Generally they are all checked, the connector is checked, then probably the functionality is checked directly by a different device, and once when the whole thing is pushed on top of it, it works extremely reliably. Satellites do not fail, the connectors will not fail, your module will not fail. You just have to stand in the open and wait for the satellite to connect. So about this mounting, the connector is mounted in use panel mount, free hanging, boarding mount, what the angle of the connector is relative to the attachment, or how it is mechanically attached, solder tab, surface mount, through hole. So added to that, there is a very funny thing, the professionals in military use the word bulkhead. Anything which is used on a vertical plate, instead of calling it a panel, they will call it a bulkhead. They have reasons. and this is, you have seen here, it's looks a little like a multi-purpose thing. It has a small soldering hole and all that, plus it's punched out of a flat sheet. So you can mount it on the PCB, or you can connect a cable also to it. While this is clearly a cable mounted thing. Now you just read it. PCB mounted by soldering, because there is no other way of holding on to the panel. Inline cable mount. Understand? So one side it's connected to some what you call 2 pins which come from the printed circuit board. Other side it has that nice coaxial connector. And finally, panel mount, we have a nut in the front. Panel mount will be just a hole with a nut, or as I have explained to you earlier, they can be a flange. It can be a flange with 4 holes. We see that BNC, occasionally the TNC connectors, you have a nice flange with 4 holes. There is a reason for that, which is better. One of the thing is, especially for BNC, it is essential you mount it like that, because by definition we are going to take a mating socket part and going to rotate it so that it engages permanently. That often causes the other end to completely fail. Only other way of getting over it is to make a D type things. So some of these, especially BNC, has a D type cut here. So when you push it inside, the D is supposed to prevent it, but due to small variations in manufacturing tolerances, the opening, D opening can be a little bigger and the connector can be a little smaller. You end up with an unpleasant situation that first damage starts and eventually it will start rotating. Most important thing here, when a connector mounts to a board or a cable, electrical connections tend to be fragile. It is typical to provide some kind of a strain relief to transfer any forces acting on that connector to a more mechanically sound object than the fragile electrical connections. So I am sure all of you know about this 3.5 mm cable jack which you use in your headphones. Very interesting. This is taken from an old telephone, this thing where you have quarter inch 6.35. The terminology you have seen there, the tip and ring. And it was carried through in the POTS, a plain old telephone system, that the word tip and ring is even used in the electrical circuits. This is the only place very clearly they explained what a tip and ring is. People who are in the telecom industry will probably either learn or appreciate it. Old like me, you will appreciate it. If you are young, you have a chance for learning. This is a 3.1 mm normal headphone jack, comes with a strain relief boot. Okay. This is the one which main thing is, if you pull this out here or if you hold anything, the contacts inside should not get damaged, but often they do. Nice word, host and peripheral. Host is the one which supplies the power and then it has certain features. One of them is that it is 5 volts and the current is limited very carefully. You have seen this. We have 2 issues there, but this is not an electrical thing, it is about how much of power you can get. So as you say, if you multiply both of them, a little over 2 watts is what I can produce. I am sorry, what needs to be supplied on all conditions. So generally it is restricted to 350 milliamps, and that your other side should not draw more than this. So I leave all this. First thing is, which I was explaining to you, a USB connector can be inserted only one way, nominally, you understood, no? If you are a vandal or a hacker, nothing prevents you from removing the barrier and push it, that's all. it will result in damage because extreme ends are power issue is there. Then if you see carefully, Apple doesn't use this. If you use that lightning connector, it can go both directions. It will go like this and the other way also. There is an advantage and disadvantage. Some things are duplicated, some things are okay, but that is again they have made sure that you cannot interchange with the other subjects. All USB connectors at least have 4 contacts. These are for power ground, data line, data high and data low, designed to transmit so much shielding. Metal shell, which is not part of the electrical circuit, is provided, keeps signal intact in the case of environments with a lot of electrical noise. So it is built in that the outside world, so you read it a little. You see here this word, I will just make it a little smaller. So left one comes as the host, right one is the other thing. Now you see these small 2 contacts which I was trying to show you on the sample I had, and then the small openings where this will go and sit into that. Then we have the power pins, some of the features. Now it comes to the huge list of what is USB A, B, and mini, micro. It looks like a non-stop thing. USB A female is a standard host connector on most computers or any device intended to have peripherals plugged into it. You have seen this, no? And you see a small designation also is there, 3 versus the old black. Somebody has removed this outside shell to see how well the contacts are made. You see it is a 4 terminal. So we have all this. I hope you have read it carefully. Oh, this has come probably of the reason of you needed to stack them and a little more on the squarish side. You see the whole mounting a little more squarish. It is a little stronger compared to the other thing. So occasionally you find it on printers, because for some reason they may have a problem, and some types of hubs and all that, you have this USB type B squarish thing. So not long ago USB B was used for more rugged this thing compared to the other one. Oh, we are coming into a nice beautiful area. Mini was an attempt, first attempt you have seen that, reduce the connector for smaller devices, found on smaller peripherals, MP3, older cell phones, small hard drives, external hard drives, surface mount connector. You will notice that most hard drives, the pocket hard drives and all come with it. There is a small advantage of it also. Normally, you are not likely to use a charging cable for connecting it, because that USB to this mini has data things also. So they are slightly different. You can just check. You have seen this. This very beautiful shape is characteristic of it. which you don't find with the micro cable. That small step with a 45-degree chamfer is characteristic of this. Now we finally come to the micro female. You have seen here there is no step, but instead it is shaped. One end for connecting with a USB micro as a peripheral. So, by default most cell phones these days come with a socket which is mounted on this, and then the datacom charging cables, all of them now practically come with this. This is the typical. You have seen this, we have to say OTG, on the go cable devices. So, if you have a mobile phone like this, sir, can you show me this? If you have a mobile phone like this, normally we connect this for connecting it to the what you call peripheral on the other side, but it has a small also called the OTG cable, where the other side has a host connector, the female part of it. So, if you have this, now any of these devices can directly be plugged into the phone. I can plug it just for fun, I am just showing you. You can also plug in normal pen drives and all into this. This is only about the cable, not about the operating system. There you need a file manager, something to read it, not part of this. Thing is, as I have started and told you earlier, we have to live with them. And yes, then audio is a long list of audio connectors. You would have seen this, is what was shown there, no, your tip and thing is there. Phone plug with a right angle, okay, and at the back all this stuff, how it is mounted. Now we come to that RCA which I was talking to you about. I do not know how the designation has come, probably being supplanted by connections like HDMI. I was born a little later, I am not that old, but even now most of the connections between a set-top box and a TV or a satellite things make use of the 3-pin yellow, black and blue, or yellow, blue, red and other combination, a 3-pin flat cable, which has, you have a audio, then left and right separately, and then the video cable. The advantage being video at I am not very familiar with the frequencies, it works very well. Audio definitely works, video also is reasonably works well. So, if you have a game, Nintendo Wii and all that, now of course the latest ones have all been changed with HDMI. HDMI has other features also, automatic resolution setting, so that you do not complain saying it is not working. Once you plug it in, it just works very well. So, we have the video and you have seen this beautiful, nice way of remembering. Red is for right, white is the other. But each of them, remember, has two contacts. Some of them, the outer is isolated separately, very rarely they are joined together. That operation also is available. So, we come to a large number of this type of connectors, saying this is something I think probably after this I will try to stop. So we have all this stuff which goes into this thing here. You see here there is a center pin and outside there is a contact. Okay. So this is the outside sleeve and there is something else inside, and then this whole thing you see here, if you see carefully, we have a beautiful thing here, something here which directly can be crimped onto the sleeve, and then afterwards we still have a boot or a strain relief mechanism. So this is here. We have this little problem about why positive can be out and why positive can be in and all that, not yet decided. I do not know in person, but you will notice in the case of your cars and all that, they usually have positive grounding, or it is considered to the metal body, maybe related to some corrosion, maybe related to something, and the negative is what drives it. So both sides of these things are there. Now we have come to a beautiful arrangement called the Molex. Name of the company which has become generic. That is a lot of what you call, shows how first time when it was invented, how well they have thought about it, are designed to carry currents up to O. You have seen that Molex connectors. This is one part, the mating part is the other side. You have seen that, very important. I think in one of the very earlier lectures I talked to you about it. It is not about how the shell or the head fits into the it, but the pin designation decides on it. It is just loosely calling male and female, which while there is nothing sexist about it, it does not clearly indicate what it is, but then pin and socket seems to be a better thing. A socket is by definition you put anything inside. So we have this Molex pins and this thing, and now slowly we come to IEC 60320. Power supply inlet, which is supposed to be this. I am sure you have seen this on all of your adapters for computers. The outlet part of it is usually molded, and from the adapter the outlet is molded and given to your computer, because that is very specific. Voltage may be different and the termination at the end may be different. The inlet will be in this condition. So the advantage here is you can have either 2 pin if you want, you can have 3 pin. The other side can carry a plug which can fit in the local system. So when something ships from the manufacturer, it comes with a cable which is suitable for the lower end. So AC connectors we can do. So I mean, this is not very common, but then you will notice it, that you will find these things are also. You have seen this. pin header are several different means of connection. One side there is a series of pins, another side there is a series of sockets. This is what you have, these things here which you have seen earlier. Here also we have highly reliable to very cheap connectors. So, as a combination, this is a socket, this goes onto the PCB, and then on the other side you have all these connectors. I think I need to take a break at this point. I will stop here with the screw terminations, which especially in the control and instrumentation industry, the several type of sensors, several types of things which are already part of chemical and other control equipment need to be terminated externally by putting screws and nuts. You cannot automatically engage a standard connector and push it there. So, I will continue the lecture next time, because it has been quite as I see it, it's a lot of stuff for you to understand unless you have seen them. If you have seen them, you may feel it is not enough. So, my suggestion is try to look and read any of these things here. I will just sir, please put the screen. Yeah. Go to any of these hits you are likely to get. Read up. So, quickly I can talk to you. We have Farnell, then we have Hella, which is a German this thing. Then there are some people who supply, and then the panel builders invariably depend on Phoenix Contact. These are also a German, probably German or what you call multinational company, and a lot of us know about Moser. The other thing, intentionally I have picked up things from suppliers which are able to supply you these things from alternate things. So, if you see the Farnell is a what you call like the G-key and this thing, now everything has come down. If you are a small, not any other way, no, not in the level, or a somebody who likes to do things at a small scale and all that, you will get them usually in Amazon. And in our Indian conditions, no, we also have other suppliers like this online, DigiKey and so many of these people supply things. So, about application I will continue later. About the application, how to select and all that I will continue later. The only hint what I can give is you must use something which is already used by others to make them compatible, and people have spent a lot of choice and exercise their choice after spending a lot of time, and hence they are not likely to go wrong. Secondly, yours will be compatible. So, thank you.